What is going on, crypto miners, and welcome back to the channel. I'm the hobbyist miner. I started mining right here in my basement a few years ago, and man, did I make boatloads of mistakes. Trying to mine from home is not easy. I tried in my basement, finally moved to a grow tent in the basement, and finally decided enough was enough. And I built a home crypto mining shed right out back. One of the best decisions I've made as a home crypto miner. And well, in today's video, we're going to go ahead and head out back, take a look at my shed. I'm going to explain why I did, what I have going on there, challenges, success stories that worked out. And then we're going to head to my second shed that is actually hosted at my electrician's house and take a closer look. So hopefully you guys learn from my mistakes and take a thing or two from today's video. Before we go too much further in today's video, I want to give a special shout out to the team over at Jingle Mining for sponsoring today's video. I've had the pleasure of working with the team over at Jingle Mining for the last 3 years as I've grown as a content creator and a home crypto miner, starting with the X41U, then moving on to the X4Q, and finally the new X16Q. These miners, hands down, are some of the best, most efficient, most reliable, and some of the quietest miners in the industry. If you're in the market to purchase your next crypto miner, go over and check out Jingle Mining. They now carry some of my favorite ASIC miners like Jazzminer, Gold Shell, Bitmain, Ice River, and many more. Go check out jinglemining.com via the link in today's video description and use the special code down below to give you a discount at checkout. All right, let's head out back. We have a walkout basement here, and it is a brisk 30-degree day here in Pennsylvania right now, recording in mid-December. So out back here, I live in a neighborhood. As you can see, my neighbors are pretty close. We actually have a garden shed right here, but this is actually my home crypto mining shed. It is a smaller shed here. It's only about 7 by 8 feet, but we have a lot going on, and it's evolved a lot over the years. So what you're looking at here is, on this side is actually our intake wall. Crypto mining is all about fresh air coming in and coming out of your mining space, not necessarily high RPM fans blowing on them. It really comes down to recycling that air. So these are actually gable vents, and you may be able to see up in here, nice and dirty, there's a bluish filter in there. We actually have a MERV 5 filter. Because we're pulling in so much air, you definitely want to filter it. Now, we're not filtering like a house filter where you're worried about allergies or allergens and all of that. This is just helping to filter out some of the bigger items, dust, dirt, and a little bit of the pollen. Now, on the opposite side, we went way overkill on this, and we have 4 2500 CFM fans from AC Infinity. I actually right now only have one of them running because of the fact of it's nice and cool outside, and I'm letting some of that hot air recirculate inside of the shed. Now, on this side, you might be thinking about power. How's power working out? How's that coming together? Well, you can actually see here, we have 4 different conduits coming out of my house. My electric panel is actually right on the other side here in my garage. And these conduits are running directly into the back of the shed and going inside there to provide 5 30 amp 240 volt circuits inside of the house there. This is actually part of our immersion kit. We'll talk about that in a minute here, but let's go ahead, head inside, take a look. We got some lights on the outside that are also cameras as well, and let's head inside the shed here. Turn on the light first thing. So this shed has had quite an overhaul. The floor was entirely epoxied inside the shed, and we put lots of lighting inside here. Quite the glare, so I'm gonna try to step in, I think. So here's the back side of that intake wall that we talked about. These are called gable vents, and you can actually even feel that cold air coming directly through them. So taking a look, it's a little bit of a rat's nest, but it works. We have a rack right in the middle with a variety of different miners in here. Home box miners, mid-size miners, a server, GPU server case, full-size ASIC miners.
And what we have going on here from a shed design is this is our intake side, our cold aisle. And all of my miners are actually faced forward with their intakes, like these fans here, our intake fans, facing inside of the cold aisle. And then if we walk around, this is our hot aisle on this side. All that hot air is blowing over here, several degrees hotter. And everybody thinks, oh, I can run this in my basement or my garage. Well, trust me, you learn very quickly, you cannot tame this type of heat. It destroyed my home furnace in the first few years of mining. Had to go ahead and replace it. $7,000 mistake right there. So as I said, I do have the one exhaust fan on right here, and it is just taking all of that heat and sucking it out and blowing it right out the back side of the shed. But we got some really cool stuff in here. It's evolved over the years. We got a camera up top here that's motion censored. These are actually fire extinguisher balls that when a flame hits them, they actually pop, give off a big amount of powder that goes everywhere. And these crazy looking things on the wall with meters, that's exactly what they are. These are electric meters. Each of those 30 amp 240 volts I talked about, we have 5 of those in this shed right now with all of my equipment hooked up to them. Down below here, we talked about an immersion kit. That's exactly what you're thinking. So traditionally you have ASICs here, and right now they're not very loud because it's 30 degrees outside, so those fans are spun down. But when it's 90 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside, these things are absolutely screaming. So there's companies like this, Fog Hashing, that actually, you can put those miners, and this isn't water, this is actually dielectric fluid. It's almost like an oil. You strip down the miners, remove the fans, put them in here. They are silent, and you do not actually feel any of the heat that is coming off of them. And the system actually has this really cool pump that sucks out the hot oil, puts it outside to a radiator, and kind of like your car, and then pumps that cold oil directly back in. It makes home mining a little bit easier, especially in special situations. This has been a ton of fun with this project here. So we've done a lot inside this shed to try to make it work in a neighborhood, which is always a challenge. We put in these acoustic foam. I don't even know if they actually work. Probably not really worth the investment, but hey, anything that helps and counts. We got lights inside here. We have Ethernet coming in from the house that we brought in through that conduit there. And you can see we have a lot of other really cool things going on inside of our home crypto mining shed. Now, this has definitely been quite a pet project to run here at home. Do I recommend it for others? Yes, 100%. As long as your electric rate is decent and you can turn a profit. Because putting this type of money into any kind of hobby is quite the risk for sure. So what's next? Well, this is shed number 1. Let's go ahead and head over to my electrician's house, where him and I have partnered on a shed that kind of took this to the next level. All right, so we're over at location number 2. Say hello to the chickens there. And we are in a neighborhood actually right now. On the outside of the neighborhood, there's actually only houses and neighbors on this side, and then the opposite side of the shed here. As you can see spinning around, it's all farmland on the other side, which is really, really nice. So this location we've code named the hen house. How appropriate, right? And let's take a look. So this is a much bigger shed. This is a 12 by 12 shed that you guys can see here. And on this side is that same concept. We have the gable vents that are filtered with MERV 5 filters currently right now. And what's happening with this shed and how this is designed, it's a little bit different. We're running full-size ASIC miners, those high RPM screaming fans. Well, you can't really hear those right now, can you? And I'm gonna show you why. Because we had to do a lot to adapt to being in still a neighborhood environment. Now on the exhaust side, instead of shutter fans, you actually can see a bunch of exhaust ducts. Each one of these is actually directly connected to a full-size ASIC miner. You guys are getting a little loud over here. Simmer down. So we're gonna take a look at that in just a minute. Now, what's very different about this is a residential property, but we worked with the power company, and you can actually see right out there is a pole with a transformer. Earlier this year, we actually dug the property out and ran a dedicated commercial 400 amp service that we do have coming directly into the shed, dedicated to the shed. So the shed's on commercial, the house is on residential that you guys can see there. And well, that was quite an experience. I actually have a full video of everything we did to this shed start to finish. If you guys are interested, I'll put that directly down below. So let's go ahead and head inside and we'll take a look at this design here. Man, I feel like it's gotten colder since we came over here. So let's step inside the hen house. All right, so first look here, first glance. We do have an epoxy floor here as well, just to help out with that moisture coming through the shed entirely. But let's take a closer look. Much more going on here in this shed. So very similar intake wall on the back side here with our MERV 5 filters. If you guys are curious, these are actually probes that I use to go ahead and monitor the incoming temps. Now, as you can imagine, we've taken things significantly farther over here on this side. So we have two 200 amp panels that go into that 400 amp meter base on the opposite side there, providing us power throughout the entire shed. In addition to that, swinging around looking at internet, we have a dedicated internet out here, network switch, nothing crazy, just an unmanaged switch with a patch panel running to all of our equipment. So what in the world is going on here? Because it's not that loud, right? But we have a decent amount, I would say a lot of ASICs running in here. And these inline fans is exactly how we get by doing it. We couldn't run this if these were all the stock fans that you would see on a typical ASIC miner. What we've done is we've actually removed all of the stock fans, put the investment in, it's about $150 for these 3D printed shrouds, as well as putting in an AC Infinity inline fan that puts out 800 CFM. So pretty much this is a similar design of we're sucking in the cold air on one side, going through the shed, going through the fans, through the ASIC, and out the exhaust. We feel none of that heat inside here like my other shed. Everything is being exhausted on that back side right next to the hen house. In addition to that, you can see we have all our Ethernet, our PDUs on the back side. That's what all of our ASICs actually plug into. It's kind of like a glorified power strip, just more industrialized. And then we have a watt meter for everything inside the shed. And man, we've gone pretty wild. We've grown a ton since August inside this shed. But I've been accumulating these full-size ASIC miners over the last few years during the entire bear market, which has been a phenomenal time to go ahead and do this. Other things inside the shed, we have this workbench here that we built, which worked out awesome. A bunch of community stickers. If you guys have a sticker that I don't have on my workbench, I'd be honored to add it. Feel free to go ahead and send it out. We have a ton of those out here on the workbench. Up top, we got our storage for all of our equipment that we're using out here. And on site, we have a PC to go ahead and configure and manage our equipment. We do have fire extinguisher at each of our site, as well as anywhere there's electronics or power, we have those fire extinguisher balls above every single PDU, and even down below here above these ASICs. Now, these ASICs are kind of different. One, because they're Caspa miners versus like Bitcoin or Dogecoin, but they're actually reversed. It kind of goes against what we talked about with the air coming in and going through the shed. Well, we're in winter time right now, and with all the air getting sucked out and not coming or going recirculated back in the shed, I'm trying something different. This is new this winter for me. I didn't have this design last winter. I'm taking these 6 ASIC miners and I've reversed the direction. So they're taking air from our center aisle and blowing it back on to the actual wall there. Now these ASICs can vary on the heat they put out, but they could vary anywhere between 100 up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit and higher heat. So the nice thing is some of that heat will dissipate but it's blowing up against our filter wall to help out with the winter time with bringing in, you know, below zero snow or freezing rain, because I don't want my filters to go ahead and freeze. That would be terrible. That would destroy the airflow inside of my shed. Finally, inside our shed here, we actually have some of these inline fans up top, one over there and one up top there, because in the summer it gets really hot. And the nice thing is I can exhaust the heat up in that peak. They're fully automated. When it hits about 100 degrees up top there, it's 45 at the peak right now, it will go ahead and exhaust that heat. And 45 is awesome. I'll take 45 in here during, you know, 0 degree Fahrenheit days outside. Well, let's go ahead and step outside here. Guys, I think that's going to wrap up our mining shed tour video for today. This has been an absolute blast. Hopefully you guys have learned something. If you guys are like, oh, I'm thinking about doing this, or you're like, I think I might want to buy a full-size ASIC miner. Well, there's lots of options. You don't just have to go with building a shed. There's actually hosting services out there where you just buy the ASIC, send it off to be hosted elsewhere inside the US, and you're good to go. So you always have options as a crypto miner of places that you can run full-size ASICs just like this. If you guys have any questions, you know, you want to reach out one-on-one, I'll put a link directly down below. You can schedule time to meet with me one-on-one. Well, let's go to wrap things up for today, guys. Leave your comments, questions, concerns. I'll try to answer everything I can directly down below. And for myself and the chickens, we'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Sorry to interrupt your video, but check this out. I constantly get emails from the community asking me about trustworthy hosting facilities in the United States that I recommend. Well, I got you covered. Listen up. A few months back, I visited Block Ops Mining's brand new facility in Central Arkansas. The team there was super professional, knowledgeable, and everyday miners like you and I. After visiting the facility, I sent them a few of my ASIC miners for hosting and have been super happy with their service and communication. Go contact Block Ops Mining directly down below in the video description and tell them the Hobbyist Miner sent you for great pricing on miners and hosting.